Today we're diving into a moment of, well, palpable tension. Picture a room where a figure of authority delivers this really harsh judgment,
Yeah.
a kind of casual cruelty that just grabbed the nation's attention.
Right.
We're unpacking that confrontation between the legal veteran Alan Dershowitz and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. We want to move beyond just the headlines, really explore this profound clash of principles. And the kicker, an insult clearly meant to diminish her, it actually became the catalyst for flipping the entire situation on its head. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's explore what our stack of sources tells us about this really remarkable exchange.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here isn't just the immediate drama of it all. It's how this specific confrontation resonated so deeply with millions. Our sources describe it as, much more than just a personal argument. It was framed as a battlefield of ideas.
A battlefield, yeah.
One analysis put it like, an old order clearly flexing its muscles against a rising tide it no longer knew how to contain. This wasn't just some fleeting news blip. It became a pretty significant cultural flashpoint, fast.
And that initial spark?
Yeah.
Wow, it was truly something. Try to picture it. Dershowitz, he's leaning back in his chair, maybe a little smirk already playing on his lips, and he delivers his judgment.
Yeah.
He actually sneered that Jasmine Crockett was unfit for court. Those words just cut through the air like a gavel.
Yeah.
You could hear gasps, right? Not loud, but this heavy collective intake of breath. Eyes darted towards Crockett, sure. Some shocked, others maybe narrowed with disbelief.
Right.
But here's what's crucial, and several accounts highlight this. The sharpest stares weren't really at her.
Interesting.
They were aimed squarely at Dershowitz, the elder statesman who, as one observer put it, kind of wore his arrogance like a tailored suit.
And this wasn't just, a personal slight. Our sources consistently emphasize the profound symbolic weight carried by that remark.
Totally.
It wasn't just a jab at one woman. It echoed like generations of people who'd been told they were unworthy, unqualified, undeserving of a seat at the table. Exactly. It was, in essence, an attack on everything she represented. From immigrants building lives from scratch to communities fighting for recognition, even young Americans daring to believe their voices actually mattered.
It definitely raises an important question, doesn't it? In America, who really gets to define who speaks with authority? Who belongs in those positions of power?
Precisely. And one piece we reviewed frames this as a classic act of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
An attempt by the establishment to dismiss a new generation. Kind of felt like history trying to repeat itself.
And to really grasp the weight of that insult, you really have to understand the man behind it. Alan Dershowitz. I mean, for decades, he was more than just a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. A legal titan.
Absolutely. His name carried that aura.
Yeah.
Youngest tenured professor in Harvard Law's history, celebrated for his sharp mind, his relentless defense of constitutional rights.
Oh.
But, and this is where different perspectives really emerge in our sources, for many, his brilliance had sort of hardened into arrogance.
That's a good way to put it. Hardened into arrogance. And his fierce independence, some felt, seemed to morph into this brand of self-righteous elitism.
Yeah.
Exactly. One article really highlighted his track record, right? Taking on these deeply controversial, high-profile clients. O.J. Simpson, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump.
Big names.
Huge names. And while some reports back then saw it as, a principled stand for everyone's right to defense.
Which is a valid argument in itself.
It is, but others critiqued it. They saw it as maybe a lawyer drawn less to justice itself and more to the spectacle of power, the public platform. His communication style seemed to reflect this too. Often spoke with just absolute certainty, dismissing challengers with this palpable condescension.
Right, leaning on the credentials.
Leaning heavily on the Ivy League credentials, the decades of experience, like an impenetrable shield. As one legal commentator observed, he didn't debate to discover truth, he debated to win.
That's telling.
And if you look at the underlying criticism across our sources, our recurring theme is this perceived entitlement.
Entitlement.
Yeah, this belief that his past achievements just granted him permanent, unchallengeable authority to decide who was credible and who wasn't.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it, how prestige and power, if they go unchecked, can sometimes just overshadow principle.
Absolutely.
Now, in stark contrast to all that, we have Jasmine Crockett. Her story, as explored in several profiles we looked at, it didn't start in the polished halls of Harvard or other elite institutions.
So, quite different.
It began in communities that rarely make national headlines, places where resilience wasn't just an option, it was a necessity.
Day-to-day reality.
She built her career as a civil rights and criminal defense attorney, often representing folks who couldn't possibly afford the kind of legal powerhouses that men like Dershowitz symbolized.
Right. The system is often stacked against them from the start.
Exactly. Her work, many sources note, was vital, fighting for people who'd been ignored, dismissed, or just silenced by the system. For her, law wasn't just about statutes and precedents.
Well, it's deeper.
It was profoundly about justice or human dignity.
That's right. And multiple biographical sketches emphasize this. She wore her roots as her armor.
I like that framing.
Yeah, displaying an integrity, a persistence, and a conviction that came not from abstract theory, but from lived experience right there in the trenches of the legal system.
Yeah.
For her, it really seemed to become a reason to say, watch me.
Powerful motivator.
For many, she quickly became proof that dignity, that earned credibility, could rise from the very places power had long ignored. Her standing wasn't handed to her. It was forged through years of dedicated service.
So, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
yes,
this confrontation really was, as one editorial put it, a collision between two Americas.
Absolutely. One based on, Ivy League credentials and maybe inherited influence.
And the other?
The other based on hard-earned credibility through service, through lived experience, and this deep understanding of grassroots struggles. Just fundamentally different foundations.
So, Dershowitz delivers the initial insult. And then, surprisingly, he doubles down. He wasn't finished.
Right. You'd think maybe he'd read the room.
Apparently not. Leaning back in his chair again, voice rising, he repeated, unfit. Then adding qualifiers like, for the rigor of the law, unfit for the standards of real jurisprudence, the formal system itself.
Wow. Just digging in.
Totally digging in.
Yeah.
He kept invoking his decades at Harvard, his books, his triumphs, gesturing dismissively toward her.
Wow.
And what started as shock in the room, it visibly edged into discomfort. You could hear murmurs getting louder.
I can imagine. Awkward.
But Crockett, she didn't break, didn't even blink. Her stillness wasn't passivity, it was. It felt like patience.
Calculated patience, maybe?
Maybe. Like she understood this crucial truth. Arrogance always peaks right before it crumbles.
Yeah.
And what happened next, that was the real turning point. Here's where it gets really interesting.
You're absolutely right. Her strategic silence in that moment, it was incredibly powerful. It allowed Dershowitz, maybe unknowingly, right, to inadvertently expose his own condescension.
The lead it bear.
Yeah, his almost desperate hunger to dominate and his reliance on credentials instead of, the substance of an actual argument. As he kept talking, one source noted his arguments became brittle. They were just circling back on themselves, clinging to his resume as if that alone was proof enough.
And the room felt it.
Oh, the room is no longer with him. Her silence became its own kind of rebuttal. It created this intense anticipation.
Yeah, everyone waiting.
And it fundamentally shifted the power dynamic of the whole encounter right there in her favor. She essentially allowed him to, as some might say, dig his own hole.
And then finally the silence broke. But now it was her weapon.
Yes.
Professor, she began. Her voice was calm, but you could feel, or sources described, this sharp edge of restrained fire.
Ooh, restrained fire. Good description.
That many felt building. You've made a career, she said, out of telling people who does and doesn't belong. Your judgment doesn't make me unfit. It makes you blind.
Boom. Just like that.
The air just cracked. Dershowitz's composure, it visibly wavered. He leaned back, blinking like he hadn't quite processed it.
Caught off guard.
Totally. But she was just getting started. She then boldly redefined unfit, declaring, unfit is ignoring the people we serve while congratulating ourselves for how clever we sound in courtrooms.
Turning it right back.
Unfit is believing power exists to protect the powerful instead of those who have been left behind. Unfit, she declared, is mistaking elitism for excellence.
Wow, that cuts deep.
Her core message, coming through that lens of lived experience, it was crystal clear. She came to fight for real people, people without privilege, without protection, without a voice. Hearing someone articulate that, especially facing that kind of dismissive authority, it can be truly electrifying for people.
Oh, absolutely. And that clapback was just profound in its depth. She didn't just rebut him. She starkly contrasted their entire worldviews.
Completely different perspectives on the law itself.
Right. For Dershowitz, the law, at least as he presented it in that moment, seemed to be about maintaining prestige, status.
Right.
For Crockett, it was about survival, dignity for her communities. She directly challenged his definition of fitness, didn't she? Saying, let's talk about standing in the fire when every system is stacked against you. Let's talk about carrying generations of struggle on your shoulders while being told to sit down and wait your turn.
Yeah, that lands.
What's particularly insightful, and multiple analyses pointed this out, is how ingeniously she flipped his insult into this unforgettable stand. She turned his arrogance into a mirror, basically, reflecting his own flaws back at him. She didn't just defend herself. She fundamentally redefined the terms of the whole debate. It was brilliant strategically.
And then came the line, the one everyone remembers, the one that got dubbed the mic drop line that just resonated nationwide.
Yeah, this was it.
The future of this country will not be defined by the old guard clinging to their pedestals. It will be defined by those who refuse to be dismissed, who refuse to be told they are unfit, when in fact they are the very heartbeat of America.
Powerful.
You don't get to decide my fitness, the people do.
Yeah.
And they've already decided I belong.
And the room's reaction?
Immediate eruption. Applause just thundered. Cheers, shouts mingling. Dershowitz looked visibly rattled, his words just completely drowned out by the crowd's response.
Overwhelmed.
Totally. Crockett then delivered her closing statement. Call me unfit all you want. Every time you do, you remind this nation exactly why voices like mine must rise louder. Because the future doesn't belong to the gatekeepers. It belongs to the builders.
Builders, not gatekeepers.
Wow. Her composure in that moment, that resolute expression, it really showed she was speaking for way more than just herself.
Absolutely. And this specific moment, it didn't just stay contained in that room, did it? It exploded across the nation.
Yeah, instantly viral.
Within minutes. Clips of her rebuttal were flying across Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, hashtag Crockett Clapback, hashtag Dignity Wins. They were trending fast. You saw those side-by-side images everywhere. Crockett's conviction versus Dershowitz's visible discomfort.
Yeah, that contrast was stark.
Then came the memes, the TikTok remixes, reaction videos, YouTube commentary. Even late-night hosts were dissecting the exchange.
Everyone was talking about it.
Major media outlets ran extensive coverage. Editorials compared it to historic debate moments. Celebrities weighed in, I think, a Grammy-winning singer, an NBA star.
Right, adding to the cultural impact.
Yeah, civil rights leaders, too, underscoring its broader significance. Dershowitz, meanwhile, in this context, was widely portrayed pretty negatively. He became almost a meme of elitism crumbles. This event really became a flashpoint for that generational divide, didn't it? Dershowitz as the old guard, Crockett as the future. It symbolized the shift in who holds moral authority.
Absolutely.
And for so many ordinary Americans, her words just tapped into this collective memory of being silenced or underestimated. They felt genuinely seen. This wasn't just another trending topic. It was, as one piece put it, resonance. Real connection.
So what does this all mean? Beyond the immediate viral storm, our core conclusion, really, from diving into these sources is that it wasn't just a personal clash. It was a profound battle of principles.
Definitely.
And a redefinition, really, of what constitutes credibility. Crockett's rebuttal was this powerful declaration that credibility, as one analysis framed it, is not defined by the titles you hold, the degrees you flaunt, or the years you claim as authority.
It's deeper than the resume.
Exactly. It showed us that true credibility comes from dignity, service, and integrity. That resonant line, the future doesn't belong to the gatekeepers. It belongs to the builders. That's a truth big enough to carry every American who has ever felt told they don't belong. You know, the message was for the student dismissed for their accent, the worker overlooked because of their background, the woman told the table wasn't hers to sit at.
Right, all those experiences.
The young person whose dream was called unrealistic. It's really about who gets to build the future.
And this truly deepens the lesson, doesn't it? Into that contrast between service and status. That's a powerful theme running through so many of the sources we looked at.
Service versus status.
Status, as we saw with Dershowitz maybe in that moment, often demands recognition. It leans heavily on hierarchy, insists on reminding others of its importance.
Needs validation.
But service, especially the kind of dedicated, community-focused service Crockett embodied, it earns its authority differently. By lifting others, by persisting even when dismissed, by turning every slight into a chance to build something stronger.
That's a key distinction.
As one essay put it so succinctly, arrogance is temporary. It burns hot, loud, and fast. But dignity, quiet, steady, and resilient, endures.
Endures.
Dershowitz, in that moment, represented the fading roar of entitlement. Crockett embodied the rising voice of integrity. It felt like more than just a debate. It felt like a cultural handoff.
A cultural handoff. Interesting.
A moment where, as one historian suggested, history's weight shifted toward a different kind of justice. This event, I think, will undoubtedly live on. In classrooms, articles, countless conversations.
Yeah, it sparks something.
It fuels that ongoing question. What matters more? The resume you hold or the truth you carry with integrity? It's just a powerful affirmation that no insult, no dismissal, no amount of arrogance can truly silence someone who knows their worth and speaks for a purpose greater than themselves.
So in the end, Dershowitz's attempt to diminish Crockett, using arrogance, titles, the weight of an old system, it just ultimately failed. Flat out.
Backfired spectacularly.
Instead, Crockett's response didn't just defend her, it actually made history. It demonstrated that true strength comes from resilience, from service, and from the courage to speak for those who can't always speak for themselves.
Maybe the final thought here is this. Every generation faces a choice. Do you bow to entitlement? Or do you rise with integrity? And in that room, in that specific moment, America really witnessed the power of rising.
Yeah.
So the question for you listening is maybe, will this moment just fade into the noise, or will it fuel something greater? A sustained conversation about who we empower, what we truly value? That part perhaps is up to you.
A powerful question to leave us with.
Because in the end, as Crockett proved, it's not always about who speaks the loudest. It's about who speaks with truth. And truth, carried with dignity, always echoes the longest.